Release the Kraken!
Good afternoon, fellow game designers. Ron here at Lame Duck Studios. And ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for. Also, the cat says hi. So in this one, we're going to take the model we've been spending all this time on and bring it over into Unreal. Now, we don't really have any animations, but we will be setting up the hairpiece so you can see how that works, setting up the physics so we can get that working. And in the next couple videos, we'll look at setting up like a walk cycle and all that fun stuff. Okay? So, without further ado, let me go ahead and close all these little menus here. Let's turn the character back on. And the body layer. Got that. So what we got to do is select the root of our character. Hold Shift, select the body of the character. You also want to make sure you get all the pieces. Now your hierarchy is over here. You can, of course, grab as you go. Don't forget the hoodie. Let's go ahead and turn that back on. And what I'm going to do with the hoodie, I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to parent it to this joint here on the spine. Now we could, of course, do a skin weight and make sure that up here bends with the character movement, but we're going to handle that in Unreal. I'm just going to parent it to this joint here. Now when I parent it, it will create an error inside of Unreal. It's really a warning, but it'll still work. So I'll grab that, grab the joint, I'll hit P. Select the root joint here, shift select the body, and we will also shift select the eyeballs. So shift select the eye, shift select the eye. So we gotta have all those. I'm gonna go up to File, go down to Export Selection. We're gonna go ahead and name this. I'm gonna call this SK because it's a skeletal mesh. Underscore, I'll call this ALF. You can see I have a bind pose, so we're going to do ALF bind pose. So you should always have a bind pose. And actually I'm going to do this one as ELF dude. I'll do capital ELF dude bind pose. So your bind pose is the initial pose of your character. It's the one that sets the foundation for everything that's going to happen with your character. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here on my export options. We don't have any animations yet, so I'll uncheck that. And then we're going to export using the FBX file type. And then hit Export Selection. I'm going to turn the body off and the skeleton off. I'll grab the hair skeleton and the hair piece. File. Export selection. It's going to be SK underscore ELF hair. I'll call this bind pose. You could just call it ELF hair. It doesn't really matter in this case. It'll never have animation, but just to be consistent. I will export that. Also as an FBX type. Hop onto the desktop here. We're going to launch Unreal. For this, I'm going to do a blank project. You can use whatever project you like. We'll do scalable. Make this whatever you want to name your game. I'm going to call this ELF game. But whatever you want to name it, you create. I'm also doing a blueprint project. If you want to see some code later on, let me know in the comments, and I'll do some C++ stuff as well. Once we're in, I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call this skeletal mesh. Make another folder. This is going to be my blueprint folder. And inside my blueprint folder, I'm going to have characters. We also want an animation folder. So add folder will be animations. If you have more than one character, you'd have different characters by name or whatever, but we'll keep it simple. I'll import. Alright, I'm looking for my ALF mesh. So my SK elf dude bind pose. I'll hit open. We're importing the mesh, we're getting that. This is good. Everything else, defaults are fine. I'll import that. Now this is the error that we're going to get. It's really a warning. It says, this one is missing from the bind pose because it has no skin weight data, but it's part of the skeleton. It's just complaining. It'll still work. And here he is. Let's go ahead and grab the hair piece. So I'll add, import, scroll down to grab that hair, elf hair. Now when it comes in for the elf hair, because it detects a skeleton with a similar name, it's going to say, hey, do you want to use this skeleton? The answer is no. We actually want to use no skeleton. We're going to let the hair come in with its own. So I'm going to hit this little arrow right here, the little curly arrow. That's going to break the link. And then we're going to import that as its own. So there's the hair piece. There's him. And you can see if I pull the hair in, it's just the cap by itself. Okay, let's go ahead and set up the physics for our character. So select the character. You see have the physical asset right here. It's the physics asset, it's the yellow one. Go ahead and double click that. It'll drop you into here. It'll show you something like this. Now all these different bubbles are collision boundaries. Some of them we want, some of them we don't. Like on the feet, that's probably okay. These leg ones don't exactly match the leg. Over here on this skeletal hierarchy, you can see it creates the reference and then the actual body boundary. And then this is a connection or a constraint between the two. Okay, and then this is the actual bone. So down here, I take this one that's attached to the hip, hit spacebar, I will scale it, and then I will hit spacebar again, I'll move it up to where the hip is, grab the next one, same deal, I will scale it, put it into position. I'll go down and grab the knee joint. Knee. Grab the left knee. Where's left knee? So on the left knee, I'm also going to do a control select. So select that one, hold down control, go down to the right knee, control that, right click. We will add bodies, and your body type down here is capsule. So I'll add bodies. Those are fine where they're at, it looks like. Spacebar, I'll just move them into position. Yeah, that's good. I'm gonna grab these ones. Spacebar, get the rotation tool. I'll move over. Just tilt that so it matches the body. Now this is really for physical collisions, so you can use it for targeting if you're making like a first-person shooter. Different body points have different targets. You can also use it for whenever you like go into a ragdoll situation, so if the character dies and falls over. So right now I'm just shaping these boundaries up so they match the body better. It's good to look at this in different views. You can see how this is going to overlap with that hoodie. I don't want it to, so I'm going to have this scaled in just a little bit to be a bit more accurate for that hoodie, because the hoodie is going to bounce off of that whenever we set up the physics for it. Get the head. The head is one long spill. We don't really want that. I'll just go ahead and just scale it down a little bit. You can use a sphere if you like, but this head is kind of elongated, so it's okay. We do want this to be a little bit smaller for the hairpiece, because when the hairpiece goes on, it'll collide with the head. So I'm gonna make it just a little tinier. Okay. For the hands, I'll leave that alone. We don't need individual fingers. We will want to adjust our shoulder joint. So that's left shoulder capsule. I'll grab that one. Scale it down. Move it into position. Same deal with this one. Scale it down. It doesn't have to be perfect. Move it into position. And then might want to tilt these up just a little bit. If you don't like the way it snaps, you can turn snapping off. It's over here. That's this little angle bracket. You can turn that off and it won't snap. Let's grab the left and right elbows. So, right elbow. Where is left elbow? Left elbow. Again, that's control click. I'm going to right click on that. Create bodies. Size it into the correct spot. That looks fine. And that's fine. And you can always test it to see how it works. You hit simulate. Hey, bam. And you can add different constraints on these so they doesn't, twist around or whatnot. Grab that hip one. Bring that in. And these thighs, I'll bring those in just a little. Alright, so this physics asset is pretty good for this. Close that one. Make sure you save. Sure, I'll just name this map. For the hair piece, we also have a physics asset. Go ahead and grab that. When this comes in, you'll see it's trying to do the entire head. We really don't need this. Go ahead and select it, delete. I'm going to select the head, down to the ponytail. I'm going to make these spheres. So I'll change that to sphere type. You can use capsule if you like, it doesn't really matter. Add bodies, like so. Now this big one, for the head, we really don't need it. I'm just going to go ahead and scale that down. I'll set this one to kinematic, so over here for physics type, kinematic, hit play. So what kinematic does is it tells this piece to not animate, but these get to animate. You can see them animating and doing their job. There's a bit of overlap. You don't want these hitting each other, so I'm going to go ahead and change the shape of these. So that one, shift, grab that one, that one, that one, and that one. So I'm grabbing the little blue thing. So if you're not sure what I'm grabbing the blue thing. I don't need this one. Grab the middle of the widget here, scale it in. This one did not go. It's a little bit better. A bit rubbery, but it's working. You can go into a side view here, it'd be a little bit easier to mess with. Alright, where's this joint at? I'll turn snapping off and I'll just move it into position, go down to the next. you are here. So that one should go about there. This one is here, so that's this one. And to make it easier to see the whole skeleton, let's go up to character, come down to bones, go down to bone drawing, do all hierarchy. That way I don't have to keep clicking to find out which one's which. And then last one is this one, and that's about where it needs to be. This one I will put about there. Simulate. You can see the dangling here. That's part of the skin weight. If we had told those not to move, they wouldn't be moving. But it's okay. We can always do that later. Let's make our blueprint. Characters, right click, blueprint class, create a character, call this elf, open that up. For the mesh, I'm going to go ahead and load in the character, so bind pose. I'll put him down on the ground. That's, let's see, location Z, -90 is the bottom of that. I'll change the capsule height. Capsule radius. Better fit his body. Let's move him up into position here. This is easier to do from a side view or a front view, so I'm going to kind of go there. Let's make this the right size. Go back to perspective. Okay, I'm going to make him face the correct direction, which is 90 degrees to his left or to his right. Well, to our right, his left. So I'll go over to the Z rotation. I'll do 90 minus. Cool. Compile that. We'll save it. We're going to attach the hair to the bone. So on the mesh here, add component. I'm going to do a skeletal mesh. I'll rename this hair. Load in the hair mesh. And then I'm going to attach the hair mesh. So down here, with the hair mesh selected, it has parent socket. Open that up. I'm going to actually attach that to the head joint, so head 2. Okay, let's go back to the model, or go back to Maya real quick. Let's turn our skeleton back on. I don't think we set this joint properly. We did not. If I turn on its local rotation, let's go down to skeleton, orient joint options, toggle local axis. You can see it's kinked. So what we'll do is select the body. Where are you at, body? Select the skeleton, select the skin. We're going to do an unbind. So go up to skin, come down to unbind skin. Options here. We're going to change the history type to keep history. Hit apply. So now the skin is unbound, and we can move this joint. If we try to move the joint with a skin bound, we'll end up messing up the body. So I'll grab the joint, go down to attributes on the joints. I'll set the joint orientation to 0. That way it's correct. Grab the body again, so the root, skin, go back up to skin, bind. We'll get our same options again. So geodesic voxel, we want joint hierarchy. We did 5, and yes. Bind skin. It's going to throw us an error for one of the objects not found, but it's kind of crazy. It's actually working just fine. It should retain all of our skin weights that we already had. So we shouldn't have to go in and fix anything. Okay. Grab the body, skin and the eyes again. File, export selection. I will re-export over my elf dude bind pose. Again, we don't have animations. It's going to be an FBX type export. Let's go down to the mesh. That's the pink one. Go ahead and right click, do a re-import. Alright, let's go back in to the blueprint. Hey, look at that. Now the hair is in a better position. Let me grab that hair and get rid of the rotations that I put on it. I'll just delete it off real quick. Delete, re-add it. Skeletal mesh. Not you. Yes, attaching a person to the other person is what you want to do. Skeletal mesh. Weird. It's insisting on adding that to it. Okay. Socket, we'll grab that head socket again. Head to, where are you at? Where are you at? And we have a 90-degree rotation, so we'll just turn this 90 degrees. And we'll turn this one 90 degrees. Fix that, we'll call that hair. And the reason that was flipped sideways when it came in is also its joint is turned sideways, but it's okay. We can live with it as is. So now that the hair is attached, we're going to tell this to simulate. So we'll go into Event Graph. When the game starts, we'll do set simulate below. So we're looking for set all bodies below physics for the hair. New simulate. It wants to know the bone name, and the bone name is head 3. So we'll just pull this off, promote to variable. We'll just call this bone name. Compile it. This is going to be head 3. So everything below head 3 should be the one that works. Grab the hair. We want to make sure that this is set to simulate, so let's go down to physics is currently set to no collision. We're going to set this to ragdoll. Hit compile. And let's add that in. So bind pose. Or blueprints, we'll add him in. And let's turn this on as a simulation. So drop down, simulate. Oh, we don't want the hair to fall. Okay, so we have this set for hair 3. So it's actually going to include this bone in its physics. So let's go ahead and not include self. Conversely, you could change the bone name. So instead of it being the top bone in the hair chain, it could be the first one in the ponytail. So like ponytail 1, you could tell it to do this as well. And that should, let it simulate, get the hair to move. Now it is kind of dangly. This has to do with the constraints that are on the physics. So if we stop that, go back into the physics here. Let's grab the constraint. We can adjust all these different traits about the joint. Right now it has a linear tolerance, and it has a projection angle. Let's see, maybe I'll do that as 90 degrees. You can see that's slowing down, it's not quite as bending as much. And I'll put that back at 180 just to show you another option. So you can go back into each one of these joints here. So if you can grab the blue piece, you have an option for linear dampening. And the higher this is, the less, or the more resistance it'll have, or more friction it'll have. So I'm going to do like maybe 10. I'll go through all these and do 10. So you can see now it's less. I go in, make these 30 just to make it really nice. Okay. Let's check our rotations. So grab that, get the constraint. The constraint is this part here. Let's do maybe 30 degrees on all these. Okay. Let's see what that looks like in the world. Let's do bones here. Grab that front view. And then also down here, we have linear limits and angular limits. Right now it's set to twist free motion. Let's go ahead and lock. We'll do like a limited. Let's do a twist, maybe 5 degrees. Okay, let's go ahead and do that for the other joints, or the other constraints. I'm going to go ahead and limit the swing, and I will limit the rotation. Right tail, grab that. And then last one. And again, you can adjust these however you like for the simulation you're trying to achieve. There's the hair. And if I were to grab him and move him, hey, much nicer, right? All right, so that's it for the hair. The next one, we're going to do the hoodie. Make sure you save it, and I will see you then. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you've enjoyed the video you just watched, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have any comments or suggestions for future videos, make sure you leave them down in the comments. I upload new content every Sunday, and I release content every Wednesday. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have a Patreon. Get content early. I also have official merch, Lame Duck Studio merch. It does exist. They do exist. So make sure you stick around for anything new, and I will see you next time.